Hey guys, this is Dinosaur Drawer, and today I'm gonna show you how to draw details on your dinosaur. This video was requested by Polo Drive, and he basically requested me to do a tutorial on how to get details and everything on your dinosaur. And so yeah, I just drew two T-Rexes and I tried to make them as similar as I could. They do have a little bit of difference between them, but I'm gonna use one T-Rex to show you guys how to draw detail on it the way it's supposed to be done, or at least at the level where I am at, the way that I draw it right now, and how I used to draw it. And I think that the way I used to draw it is pretty similar to how a lot of you guys, well, a lot of the people that are watching these tutorials and trying to learn something from it, draw it today. And I thought it would be better to see a little bit of comparison between the way that you are supposed to do it and the way that you aren't supposed to do it. So let's see. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this one for the one that for showing you guys how not to do details, and this one I'll show you guys how to do details. So one thing that I didn't do when I was about to draw details and stuff on my dinosaur, when just maybe 4 years ago or so, what I did was I instantly started drawing muscles, and I basically did it this way. So I just drew a couple of lines, and I knew there was one muscle over here, and then I drew a couple of lines like this. And back then I didn't really pay too much attention to where my light source was coming from. All I knew was that the underside of the dinosaur should be very dark. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. So the underside of the dinosaur will be very dark, and then I was gonna let it fade into the drawing, fade into the light again. And what I didn't pay attention to was the roundness of the object that I was drawing the shadow on. So I basically drew it like this in a straight line. And then I did the same over here. And I knew that around his leg area it would have been very dark. So I literally didn't put in the muscles and everything. I just put in a couple of lines where I knew that there were supposed to be muscles somewhere around that area. And then I basically shaded it in like this, and I knew that on the underside it would be a little bit darker, so it would look a little bit like that. And I'm not trying to do it really quick so that this one will look this one will look twice as good as this one. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to accurately draw it the way that I used to draw it back in the days. And like I said, I'm pretty sure that a lot of you guys draw it this way as well. And I'm gonna use a different pencil because the mechanical pencil is good for small details and everything, but not for filling areas, large areas in. So that's why I'm gonna use this pencil for right now. Well, this is also a mechanical pencil, but this one is a little bit of a wider point. Alright, just keep on doing it until I am at the end of the tail. And I knew that there were muscles over here as well in the tail. I didn't really improve too much on the tail area. And then I just drew in, I just shaded everything in this way. And I was pretty good at kind of fading the shadow, making it very dark at some point and fading it to the light and make a very smooth transition. That's not what I'm gonna focus on today. I didn't pay any attention to the muscles on the body at all. So what I used to do now was draw the ribs in like this. Something like that. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't look that bad at all. But if you want to improve on your details on your dinosaur and stuff, it's better to follow the steps what I'm about to show you on this one. And I will compare the two once I'm gonna start with that one. And it's probably, it would have been best if I did the right one over here and the wrong one over there, because now I have to go over this one with my hand to draw in the shadow on that one. So we will see how it will get along. And what I used to do as well was I used to draw skills on top of it very dark. So now I got the basic thing done. What I used to do was draw a couple of scales like this, which you could do, but it would just make the drawing look so extremely dark that it doesn't really look like there's any shadow in it anymore. So now for his leg muscle. So what I did was I just drew like two things like this and then one muscle like over there and one stripe over there, and I just made them very dark, and I tried to make it look kind of like this, and then I would have a little shadow over here and over here as well. So again, I didn't really pay much attention to where my light source was coming from, and that's why you get this kind of effect. And this is again basically just to show you guys a way on how to improve and make you guys understand it a little bit better. And if you don't want to see this part, you can always skip to the part where I'm gonna do the detail on that one. I probably should have done this before recording as well. I drew that one in very dark, and then I did have those scales on his feet like that, and then the same for his little arm. I did the same thing, just something like that. And I knew that the bottom area would be very dark, so I drew that in very dark basically, and most of the time my arms got too dark, as you can see, and it didn't really look too good anymore. And now for his face. So what I also used to do is draw the holes in his skull like this, and then we have a hole over here, and we have a something like this. What I used to do was just draw this area in very dark, and even darker than the darkest shadow on my drawing, and I still have a tendency to do that because I believed that the dinosaur looked very aggressive because of it. And then I drew a lot of scales on top of it. And also a lot of scales over here, and drew this in very dark as well. So basically the way that I'm drawing this right now makes it look a little bit sorry yeah, so the way that I'm drawing it right now makes it look a little bit messy, and you can't really see too much about where this limb is starting and where it's separating from the rest of his body and everything, and the same goes for his head and everything. So now for his teeth. What you can't do is you cannot go past his lower jaw with his teeth, because that way it will just look very strange. It's not supposed to look that way. That's something I did know. So I did drew a muscle over there, and then I drew the bottom jaw very dark on the underside of it, and then I basically did this again. And then I would say that my drawing would be done. And also a muscle over here, by the way. This is also something that I used to do a lot. At this point I would just go in and press down very hard on my pencil and put in as many scales as I could, and lines and everything. So for the T-Rex, he has a couple of strange lines and rimples everywhere over here, and also over here I would just go in and put things in like this. And a lot of scales on his head as well. So this is the basic way how I drew my dinosaurs 4 years ago, and this is also the basic way how I see a lot of you guys draw your dinosaurs, because I have a lot of people that watch my channel that also have their own YouTube channels, and normally when I see a growing dinosaur drawing YouTube channel, I subscribe, I comment, and I try to watch every new video and try to encourage them to go on and grow on YouTube. And that's how I actually see a lot of the drawings of some of my subscribers. So again, don't get me bad, it doesn't look terrible, it doesn't look bad at all. If you are at this point, you're probably a very good drawer already, but there are some little tips and tricks that I can give you guys to improve your art a little bit. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna use this piece of paper to cover it up a little bit so I won't smear everything on the paper. Well, this is a little bit too big. I can just fold it like this. Alright, so now I can start. So here's what you should do. Again, at this point, don't press down too hard on your pencil, otherwise you will end up like this, and we want it to be a little bit more realistic looking. So here's what you should do, and you might want to take notes about where the, well, not notes, but maybe a screenshot or anything when I have every muscle in place, so that you can get it more accurate. I'm pretty sure that my muscles aren't as accurate as I can as they are supposed to be, but I am pretty sure again that my muscles are pretty accurate. So there's one very big muscle over here, which basically goes like this. And then there's a muscle that goes like this. And a couple of muscles over here as well. And that was my dog making weird noises again. So now we do want to have a muscle that goes from all the way from over here to almost the top of his neck. Well, I guess it is the top of his neck. And this muscle also goes from over here all the way to there at that point. But this muscle still has an indentation on underneath this one. Then we have a muscle that goes like this, and a couple of muscles that are like this at his belly, but we won't see them because it's covered in shadow. Then we have a lot of smaller muscles over here, and a muscle over here as well. So there we have the basic muscles of this area of the dinosaur. So now there is a muscle that goes all the way to the back of his tail, to the tip of his tail, on the upper side of his tail, and one on the underside of his tail as well. And we basically have a couple more muscles that go like this over here as well, but you won't be able to see them, so I almost never draw them in unless your light source is coming from a different angle. So now those are his tail muscles, so there isn't a lot to it. I was pretty, like I said, I didn't really improve on the tail, but I was pretty this was pretty accurate so far. Now there is another kind of indentation over here, and one over here in those muscles, and we can draw in a leg muscle. So this muscle on the T-Rex goes like this, attaches to the knee area, and over here as well. And then this muscle is also there, but it kind of stops right there. Then we have this muscle, which is also attached to that area, and it goes like this. And it doesn't stop there, because it's kind of like there's a ankle over there, so It kind of stops there. And then we have two muscles that separate here, which go all the way down to his toes. Now for these muscles, he has a muscle over here, goes to his elbow, and a muscle that goes to this area, like that. And then two muscles that kind of separate the same thing as over here to his little fingers. So that's for the muscles. Now we have to draw in the holes in his skull, but we aren't gonna color them black instantly. And then we have this like this, and then it goes like this. And we have the teeth. Starts small, gets bigger and bigger, and then it becomes very small again. Okay, so now we can move on to a finer point or a darker pencil. What we want to pay attention to now is the sun is coming from over here. So that means that his belly is pretty full. Let's say he had just eaten, and that means that there's going to be shadow at this area over here. So you can just draw that in, very dark already. And I'm gonna do this really quickly, not gonna do it too slow because I want to keep this one part, just one part. And that means that over here as well we have that area that's supposed to be darkened again, which would be this area. But because there are so many muscles and you do want to have a little bit of detail, we are going to keep a couple of highlights there. So we're just going to draw something in like this. And leave as little light as possible. And there's also going to be a little bit more shadow over here than at the other areas. And now we want to have a little bit of shadow over here, and it's pretty rounded, so kind of goes like this a little bit. It fades into the wider areas a little bit more, and over here as well, because it is a rounded shape. You can kind of draw those couple of lines in like this. And now we do want to have a lot of shadow underneath those muscles that we just drew in over here, because they are very rounded. And a little bit of shadow, don't know what sound that was, a little bit of shadow over there. So right now you can already see the three-dimensional kind of look that we're trying to go for. And for his upper neck area, I'm gonna do something like this, but don't make it too dark, because it isn't supposed to be very dark. But this area is, and then this muscle goes on and on. So that's actually a difference, because normally I wouldn't have those extremely white highlights. So you basically draw a shadow at the part. You just have to imagine like a pen. If the light source is coming from over here, that means that this area will be very dark. As you can see, there's a highlight over here, but everything else is completely dark at this area. So you can just draw this in very dark, as long as you keep this highlight over there. That's basically how a muscle works as well. So if this would be a muscle in my hand, for example, you would kind of have the same effect. This area would be very dark, but this area you still have light. So if it's completely round, it would be the half of the pen would be white and the other half would be dark. And you just have to imagine what the shapes of those muscles are to know exactly how much shadow or light it is supposed to have. And there's a little bit of shadow over there. So for his little arms, it's gonna be a little bit darkened at this area, because this area, this muscle is blocking the sunlight over here, and as well as over here, it's kind of blocking the sunlight. And over here as well, blocking a lot of sunlight. And then over here we have that little indentation in his arm, but this can be completely white. And in his fingers you can just draw a little bit of something in those areas where the bones, like the knuckles would be. You can draw a little bit of shadow because it's rounded. It's more rounded than the surrounding area. I'm not sure if I'm gonna make it in 3 more minutes. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make a second part, and yeah, I'm gonna make a second part, and so in the second part I'll be able to get a little bit more detail in. So this was Dinosaur Drawer. If you liked the video, leave a like, comment below what you think about the video and the drawing in general, and don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon so you won't miss a single video. So this was Dinosaur Drawer again, and goodbye.